Welcome to the Mindset with Mako podcast, where we dive deep into the minds of successful business owners, influencers, and people of interest. See how your mindset and outlook on life can change everything.
All right, welcome to the Mindset with Mako podcast, where we dive deep into the minds of successful business owners, influencers, and people of interest. Today, we have an awesome guest. I'm super excited to have him. He is one of the founders of the company CallForce here in Utah, which has now been rebranded to Reach. And he's also recently been named by Utah Magazine 20 in their 20's. So where they highlight 20
20
people
guys in their 20s. Or guys and girls.
There were a few girls on there.
Yeah, and they're badass.
I actually went through the list today.
Can I swear on this podcast?
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally. Okay. Welcome, Kasey Henson. And also longtime friend.
Yeah.
Me and Kasey went to high school. Yeah. But so I know you pretty well, but not, extremely well. It's you've done a lot, you've accomplished a lot. So that's why I wanted you here, man, because I think you've got a really cool story. I want to get to know you a little deeper. And then I think it's cool for everyone to kind of get to know you as well.
Yeah. Yeah. We always ran in the same circles in high school. So we would always we never got super personal one-on-one ever.
No.
And you had stopped playing football when I started playing football, really. Were you there?
I didn't play. So I played football my freshman, my sophomore and junior. And then senior, I didn't play.
And that was the only year I played.
Yeah, you know what's funny that you bring that up? So I Google all my guests a little before I come on.
My huddle account.
It's you've got a bunch of highlight reels on Go, and you made the Daily Herald a few times.
I think for baseball.
It was either baseball or football because I know you played both.
Yeah, that was my 1 year of football. I came in, just played that senior year, and we had nobody. Our team was so small. I came in. Hadn't played football since 7th grade, and all of a sudden I'm playing starting on defense, starting on offense, and it was just I had no clue what I was doing. But
we went to Provo High, so we weren't the best for athletics except for basketball.
Yeah, but we were decent. Our freshman sophomore year, we were fantastic.
Right.
Brandon Davies, Kyle Collinsworth.
We had Maka. We had some standouts.
Yeah,
for
you
sure.
did. When you played football, we were actually pretty good.
Right.
But yeah, my year.
I think this is going to be super cool also for a lot of our high school friends to kind of see what you've done and where you're at. And
did you go to the 10-year reunion?
No, I was busy that day.
Yeah.
Wasn't able to make it. Heard it was a blast. Heard there was Cup Bop.
Oh.
Are you on that Facebook group?
No, I think I saw it, but I don't get on Facebook, so I never saw what they were planning on doing or anything.
Yeah, I'm sure they made their best effort, but I don't know. I'm also kind of in the mindset where I've stayed in contact with the people I want to stay in contact with. Not that I don't care about the other people that I associate with in high school, but I don't know, you kind of just pick who you really stay in touch with after.
Yeah. Life just evolves and your interests change and who you're with. And some people they're going on a different either career path or family path. And I got married pretty soon after I got home from my mission. So I'm off onto the married life while other people are single. So it just kind of happens. You just kind of separate.
And vice versa. You and me, we were friends in high school. We weren't really close, but now the last year, our friendship has really kind of evolved into a much deeper friendship.
Yeah. Well, you're the one I have to thank for joining We Are the They. It was I was thinking about it. And then I saw your post. You jumped off that cliff at Moab.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't know Adrian was in this. I called you up and immediately you were like, do it.
I was on a high that when you called me, I was just dude, this thing's changing my life. It was I think it was the day or two after I got back from Moab and jumping off that cliff and everything. And we could do a whole nother podcast on We Are the They.
Oh, yeah.
But I want to get to know you a little, and I think everyone else does too. So what was growing up in Provo? What was your life like?
Growing up in Provo, so it was West Provo. I think you were pretty close.
Harbor Park.
Yeah, good old Harbor.
I remember
Park.
your house.
Yeah. I drive by it every once in a while. It's whoa.
So weird.
It's weird to see But just grew up like super outdoors. I'm the youngest of 4 by like 6 years. So I was my brother, he went to, he did his junior year of high school in Bolivia.
Nice.
Interesting enough. So I was, I think 6th grade when he moved out of the house, out of the country. And then from then on, like I was pretty much by myself, both working parents. So I was like, I just do whatever I want.
So you were like a single kid without being, or the only child without really being an only child.
Yeah. Yeah. So I grew up alone, but I had a lot of like good friends. Like I picked up skateboarding in like 6th grade and just became just a skate rat.
Skate punk. I remember your skater hair.
Oh yeah. Long hair.
This.
Everyone said I had the Justin Bieber hair, but for the record, I had it before he had it.
He had the Kasey Henson hair.
Yeah. So we need to, we'll let him know. But yeah, so just grew up like in that part of Provo. I mean, a story I always tell people to kind of describe what kind of childhood I had was we would skateboard down to the Provo River.
Yeah.
And you'd see those like huge, like 4-foot carp.
Yeah.
Just swimming in the river.
Things.
So we would skate down and I ran into the river with a net and it took us like an hour. We finally caught one of the carp, caught 2 of them.
Yeah.
And we threw it into my backpack for some reason. I think I was like,
it's gross.
Pretty young. I just threw it in my backpack.
Like it's alive in your backpack?
It was alive in my backpack. And we walked, it was like by the Provo skate park.
Yeah.
That's like probably like a 3-mile walk. Or
from your house to the Provo skate park?
From there to there. And we were walking home and we found this family having like a little picnic on the way home. And they were making sloppy joes.
Oh my God.
And they were like, hey, we'll trade you some sloppy joes for half of one of those fish. And like,
wait, what? Legit?
It's a carp. Like they eat trash. And so they cut one of them in half. They cut it in half. They traded us some sloppy joes and we made it home. And when we opened up the backpack, it was still alive. So I was
after you cut it?
No, the other one.
Oh, you had 2. Okay.
So then we put it in a cooler and we just like had a carp in a cooler for a couple days.
Like a cooler full of water?
Yeah. I don't actually know what happened to it, but like we grew up going to the swamp, jumping in the Provo River, which is
that's such a bizarre. I thought you were going to completely other direction. I thought you were going to like play a prank on this family and like throw like this fish on their grill or something.
No, they said they wanted to eat it. So we just like, yeah, we want some sloppy joes. So we traded them. Like we just did whatever we wanted. Like I grew up, we would just skateboard all day and then we had no money. So we'd go to Wendy's. And I remember just getting, you know, those sweet and sour packets?
Oh God. Yeah.
You just eat them. Just like lick those clean. And that's what I like lived on.
Wait, like with fries?
Nope. We would just eat the sweet and sour sauce. We had no money. We were just skating all day.
So they gave you sweet and sour packets for free?
Yeah, we'd just be like, hey, can we have some sweet and sour packets? And we'd go sit down and just
lick
if we had money, we'd buy fries or nuggets or something. But sometimes I remember just like eating the extra packets.
That is, well, you've come a long way. Do you get the fries now or do you still go back and just...
Oh, I can't do it.
A little nostalgia.
I can't do the sweet and sour sauce.
At all?
It just takes me back to those days. A
little traumatic.
Yeah, a little traumatic. Hungry Kasey, man. He just wanted a chicken sandwich, you know.
That's all he wanted.
But yeah, so just grew up was super into skateboarding, grew up snowboarding a lot. Those are what I loved to do.
Right.
And my goal was to always like somehow go professional or get sponsored. Mm-hmm. But then you probably remember me like 7th, 8th grade. I was pretty short. 8th grade, I started to grow. Then 9th grade is when I like got tall. So slowly I started to realize there's no pro skateboarders who are tall.
They're all kind of short.
All of them. Like the only ones above 6 foot are like Terry Kennedy or, you know, all that. So then I realized, you know, skateboarding wasn't going to be
probably not worth it. It doesn't work.
Wasn't going to be my future.
Yeah.
You probably remember those days.
I do. I tried to run with you guys. You probably remember me. I was not good at skating at all. I could barely ride the damn thing, but it was the thing to do. So I remember just cruising around and I could like drop in. That's about it. Maybe ollie.
I feel like I remember you at the Provo like pit, that little tiny skate park in Provo. Yeah. I remember you coming there all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I lived close by too. I lived in that whole west side a few times and I would. So what was your favorite skate park growing up?
For us, like if we could get someone to drive us up to like American Fork Skate Park, that was like the new when we were kids. We loved American Fork or South Jordan Skate Park. Like,
did you take the bus at all as a kid?
Oh man,
The city bus, the UTA bus?
My mom always makes fun of me because I was like 12. I would just get on the city bus and like,
dude, same.
She had no idea where I was. One time they like, I think they called the police because I was missing.
No.
And I had like ridden the city bus to like some laundromat or to the Provo Mall or something.
Right.
And they couldn't find me, so they were freaking out. And then I just came home and they're like, where were you?
That's funny.
Just riding the bus.
Yeah, and they had the transfer tickets, so you could just like use one ticket all day and just freaking go all over the place. I remember that.
Yeah, so that's I just beat to my own drum. Like my parents just trusted me wherever I was going. Sometimes I was gone for like a week.
Yeah.
During the summers, and they were just like, hey, are you alive? I was like, yeah.
Still here. That was before cell phones, right? So,
well, no,
or
this was after cell phones.
The conception of the flip phone.
Yeah, I remember I went through a lot of flip phone skateboarding. I would break them like every 2 seconds. So I was a brick phone guy.
Landing on them.
So I would break them all the time. But those Nokias they lasted forever.
I feel like they were more durable back then than they are now, honestly. Now it's like you drop it once and it's face down. It's like, oh my God, is it the drop of death?
Yeah.
And you flip it over and you're like, please, please, please.
Yeah, I don't want to jinx myself, but it's been like 5 years since I've broken a screen. So I'm on a good roll right now.
For sure. Okay. So grew up skating. What was high school like? You obviously graduated into sports and left skating kind of as more of a hobby.
Yeah. I kind of just like, I never really quit skating. It just faded out. Like my ankles couldn't take it anymore. My knees were shot. And I started I fell in love with basketball towards like my junior year, but like you couldn't play at Provo unless you were like groomed for it.
For those people that don't know, Provo High has been known for their basketball program. Very, very good. So it was very competitive. You can walk on the football team. They'll take anyone.
Yeah. They took me with open arms. Like, come on, let's go.
But basketball, you had to be something else too.
Yeah. I mean, I actually went to a tryout. We were just like doing like pickup with them. And Coach Drury pulls me aside and goes, I hope you're not planning on trying out for the team.
He told you that to your face?
Like, it may have been like a test, like see if I've got this grit to do it or something. I was just like, what is this guy? He's never talked to me before. And
he's supposed to inspire you?
Yeah. So he's like, I hope you're not planning on trying out. And I was like, but they were just here to like run some basketball with the team and stuff. But yeah, so I grew up in high school. I'm actually really lucky I graduated.
Dude, same.
I don't know if you remember, but so freshman, sophomore year, I was like the worst student. Mm-hmm. Like they were threatening to send me to Independence, and
Independence was a bad kid school.
Yeah, it was if you weren't having good grades or whatever, they were going to send you to Independence. Right. So I had like so many F's, and my worst thing was attendance. I just never
sloughed all the time.
Oh, I just wouldn't even go.
Yeah,
some days. But I could pass classes, and I knew I was smart. I just wasn't applying myself. Like I just didn't care.
School system's a joke anyway.
Yeah, and so those 2 years, and then eventually, end of like my junior year, I was like, you know what? I had just been like kind of labeled as this like punk and the skate kid and just like class clown, whatever you want to call it there. And I was like, I want to try and see what I can do. So like end of my junior and all senior year, it was 4.0s.
Nice. You just flipped a switch.
Just one day it just flipped. I don't know what it was, but
what changed your mindset, you think, that made you want to flip the switch?
I think just hanging out with different people. I started hanging a lot around like Peter and like Henson Ringer, if you remember those guys.
Yeah.
And it just was like, what am I doing? Like these guys are going to go off and do something. And it just kind of inspired me. Like you really are the people you hang out with.
Totally.
So when I started hanging out with them, I was like, okay, well, I can do it.
Right.
And so senior year, I just like crushed it. But
nice.
I had to do more than that because I'd failed so many classes and had so many of the no grades.
Right.
But luckily, a parent from, I think it was Timpview, sued Provo School District over their attendance policy.
I remember that. That was a big thing.
And it's the only reason I graduated because immediately it gave us all of those no grades for bad attendance, gave us all of those grades back.
Yeah.
And then suddenly I was like,
You got all those credits back.
I got all those credits
From
back.
your first 2 years too?
Yeah. It went all the way back.
Wow.
And then so I remember like our senior year, there was no attendance policy. They hadn't figured one out yet.
So your first 2 years isn't that you did poorly while you were in the classroom. You would have passed, but it was your attendance that screwed you.
My attendance was bad.
Gotcha.
So it was like the homework. I was the type of student that I could do well on tests, but I just didn't do homework. I can't do that. It was tough for me to go home and want to do homework. I was just out skateboarding and doing whatever I wanted. So yeah, as soon as the whole attendance policy was lifted, senior year was 4.0s, but I still had worse attendance than I did.
Right.
So it was like,
but if you think about it, and it makes sense that you've done so well after high school and in sales and in building a company, it's the same as any sales job. You don't, it's not about working harder. It's about working smarter, right? The people who sell the most and do the best sometimes don't work the longest hours, but they get paid the most, right? So you were just like, I don't need to be here full time. I'll show up and pass the tests, but I don't want to sit for 8 hours a day.
Yeah,
for no reason.
I've got that ADHD, so it was like just sitting in class was just so draining for me. But I could learn the concepts quickly, and I loved like the tests and stuff like that. That didn't bother me.
Right.
So yeah, because I did that all my senior year, I was able to. I think I even did one semester of summer school. I think my junior year, between junior and senior year, and then I graduated, and it was like
summer school was fun.
Yeah, summer school was actually kind of nice.
I remember they had a lot of snacks.
Yeah, I always loved summer school.
Yeah.
It was like kind of, everyone looked at it as a drag, but I have some of my best memories actually in summer school.
Yeah, because there's like less kids around. You had like the whole school to yourself, so you can mess around a little more. Remember not the pavilion. What was it called? That platform thing where like little amphitheater outside?
Yeah, outside of D-Wing.
Yeah.
You just go sit out there. It was nice and warm because it's summer.
Yeah. I remember they did like homecoming there once, or one of the dances, and
outside.
It was an outside dance. The girl I went with,
who'd you go with?
Oh, I'm not gonna name it. But she made up this weird rumor about me that she caught me making out with other girl behind like the steps. And it was such a lie. And it, like, you know, in high school, when someone makes something up like that about you, it's like the end of the world. And I remember the other girl was like in tears, and I'm just like, I wish, but no.
It didn't happen.
No. So that's what that reminded me.
Okay, you'll have to tell me after.
So I'll tell you after. Yeah. I don't know who's listening. I'm trying to start beef. But she said she didn't make it up. And I'm like, you are a liar.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Still hasn't.
Like, I'm a piece of shit for a lot of other reasons, but I'm not a liar. Anyway.
Yeah, so high school. So yeah, that's really the only reason. Like, I went from just kind of being a punk and like not really, I didn't really have expectations for my life. I remember if you remember Mr. Edie.
Yeah.
He had a class, I don't know if it was like financial literacy or something, but we had to like model out how much we wanted to make to live the lifestyle we wanted to live. So it's like, what kind of house do we want? What kind of car do we want? And I remember I think it was 9th grade, I put down that I wanted to make $40,000 a year to live the lifestyle I wanted. Yeah. And I was totally content with that.
I love that.
Like I didn't have a vision for more than that. So we didn't come from a family with money, like we didn't do super well. We got hit pretty hard in 2007, 2008.
Which was like our freshman year.
Yeah. So like high school, like right when I wanted to get a car and I wasn't able to, and that hurt, but I was just like, I just never really have a vision for that. And I think maybe that kind of helped eventually, but yeah, I was totally fine making $40,000 a year.
That probably seemed like a lot of money to you at the time.
Yeah. And I mean, it probably was more then.
Sure.
But
and at your age.
Yeah.
As well.
Well, no, that's like what I wanted to make when I was 30, 40 to live the lifestyle. Like I was just so content being, you know, just with that income.
Did you like calculate that like down to the month? Like that's is what I'll be making. And like, yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah. $40,000 a year. I was like, okay, I can have my house. I can have cars and, you know,
and money for sweet and sour packets.
And I remember just not thinking that sweet and sour packets, extras. Just not thinking that I could do much more. Like I just didn't really I bought into what everyone else thought of me. in just I'm a punk or, bad at school. And so, okay, well, that's
so the number that you picked was a direct correlation of how much potential you thought.
Yeah. Kind of my own, what I put as my own value and what I could bring. Like there's just so much talk, people at church, people at school, I was just this punk kid. And so my value was like mediocre. And so I kind of like bought into that.
You accepted that as your identity?
Yeah, that kind of was my identity. And, it took me a while to kind of figure that out. But, and really, like, I'm still trying to figure out, what value do I bring and who am I? Like, those questions still come up. And I think it comes up in different phases of life because so many things change.
Yeah, I think especially in high school, I think it's a little crazy how we expect these 18-year-old kids to know what they want to do for the rest of their life. If you think about that, it's kind of just like there's 30, 40-year-olds that I know that still don't know what they want to do. But like the amount of pressure that we put on such young kids, like if you've got that figured out, if you're that small percentage that knows like this is what I'm made to do, then hell yeah, good for you. Yeah. But I think there's way too much pressure under like, okay, well, you're going to college. What are you going to study? What are you going to do? And then they set this high expectation. And if you don't live up to that, you label yourself as a failure, a misfit.
Yeah. It's like my wife, she went to school for, she just told me the other day that I was wrong. Secondary education. So it's school health was her degree.
Okay.
She was going to be a high school health teacher. Mm-hmm. And she went and did all of like the student teaching and all that and just like hated it. Like and for teachers, they like really make you do a lot of school to be a teacher.
Right.
And she was like so incredibly talented. Like she would have been such a good teacher, but it was just like she had picked that so early on, but then later realized that's not even what she wanted to do.
She changed.
So she's not even using that degree anymore.
Right. She changed. She realized like, oh, that was what I was passionate about when I was 18 and made that decision. And now I'm in my 20s and I'm like, wait, I don't want to do this. Right.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us go through that.
And that's kind of where I had no clue what I wanted to be.
So what'd you do right after high school then? What was the plan?
The plan, so like around my senior year, I was like off and on in church, and I decided I was going to go on a mission. Mm-hmm. There's so many skills that you gain from it. And I was like, okay, well, no matter what, it's going to be good for my life. And
for sure,
helping me to mature and gain a lot of like, even like sales skills is kind of what I thought I'd gain from it. So I worked for a year, managed some like apartment complexes, did like painting and stuff like that. And then went on a mission to Brisbane, Australia is where I went.
Crikey, mate.
And it was, I love Australia until like kind of their reaction to COVID kind of freaked me out. I was actually really surprised by that.
Yeah. They shut down.
Oh, it was brutal. But other than that, I would move back there in a heartbeat. I loved Australia. So went to Australia for 2 years, came back, and didn't really know. I think I dabbled in wanting to do like door to door, do some sales, make some money, or like another tech job, something I could do on the sales side. Because I knew I was good. I know I can communicate well, and I think I'm pretty good at sales. So I was like, okay, well, let's go into sales. And my brother-in-law hit me up and he's like, hey, he had some like of his team at the office send me a video like, hey, Kasey, come work for us.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, let me just come check it out. Let me see what the office is like, see, what it all is.
A little recruitment video.
Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, I'm just going in to get a feel for it. Mm-hmm. So I walk in and then they pull me in. All of a sudden I'm in the, I think his name is Abe Nell. He was, or no, was Abe in the office? I think he was. And so he's like VP of sales for, it was called Solution Reach. It's a dental software company.
I've heard of it.
Yeah. It's right behind Thanksgiving Point.
Yeah.
So I go in there and all of a sudden there's like 3 managers in there and like the VP of sales, or I think he was the president of sales. I don't remember. And all of a sudden I'm in an interview. I had no clue. I was just going in to meet people and all of a sudden they're asking me all these questions.
Hitting you with all the questions.
What I want to do. And I'm just like, I'm in an interview. And so we're like joking about it, but they offered me the job on the spot.
Nice.
So I was like, all right.
Selling software.
Yeah, it was just software sales. So I was an ADR. So I was just setting up the sales. So I was cold calling.
For the closers.
Yeah, for the closers. And so that's what I started doing. And I was there for maybe like 8 months, just cold calls and sales. And I knew I was like that, work smarter, not harder.
Right.
Because there was a lot of people who would be getting like a ton of dials, and I was more the relationship side.
Yeah, I respect those cold callers too, because they can just go for hours. And people that are good at that, good for you. But I'm with you, man. I'm just like, I don't cold call. I've been in real estate for 5 years. I don't cold call.
It's such a grind. I respect it, and you hear a lot of no's, but yeah, you're just dealing with front office of every dental practice, and they're just like shutting you down. And there were some really good ones. Like I was able to keep up with those who were making 80 calls with 30 calls.
Right.
And that's kind of where I was. I liked to have the long conversations and build relationships with these offices, and it ended up being really good for me.
Nice.
And then I got a call from one of the buddies from my mission. And he's like, he worked at another company called Weave.
Yep.
And they're right there at the
they're big
point of the mountain. Yeah, they went public just not long ago.
Yeah.
And so I got a call from them, and they wanted me to take over a portion of their company. It was actually how Weave started, which was doing like actually calling the patients and saying, hey, this is, we use the name Megan or Ryan for a lot of them as like the default, but this is Ryan from ABC Family Dentistry. We see you're overdue. We get you scheduled.
Right.
And that's kind of what Solution Reach did, but theirs was text messages and emails.
Okay.
And it just didn't have a great conversion from what I was seeing.
So did Weave headhunt you then?
Kind of. So the COO, Jared Rodman, who I love the guy. He's a mentor to me. He's been, amazing.
Yeah.
And my later partner, Corey Pinniger, reached out to me and said, hey, would you like to take over this department? Which was doing that original idea. It used to be called Recall Solutions, but then Weave went through Y Combinator, got funding, and became Weave and changed their whole thing.
Nice.
But they always kept that little portion of the business going. Mm-hmm. But when I had got there, it was being run by a girl. She was in high school, and it was just kind of just
an afterthought,
floundering.
Yeah.
Like it was actually losing quite a bit of money.
Gotcha.
So they brought me in to try to pick that back up. Mm-hmm. And when I came in, I had a team under me, and I was doing a lot of the sales myself. I was building that up, and I was able to do really well.
Are you still single at this time, or you met your wife?
This is when we started dating right before I left Solution Reach.
Okay.
So pretty soon.
So pretty new still.
Yeah. So a couple months, I guess, before. And then I'm at Weave doing this. I'm selling, I'm managing the team, building out, changing pricing, just kind of revamping the whole thing so that we could, bring it back.
Right.
And then later that year, after Weave, and Weave was amazing. It was such a great place to work.
I've heard good things about the company.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just a sucker for free drinks and snacks, and that was kind of like the cool tech thing.
That's what a lot of tech companies offer, and that's kind of what people are looking for too, is those little freebie benefits.
And they had a full-time hairdresser in there, so I'd get haircuts every 2 weeks.
Nice.
It was, and I hired Jordan Tanner on my team, so I was working with Jordan.
So you're with your buddies. Johnny was there too, right? Or was that
Johnny? Actually, was there after I had already left.
Oh, okay.
But he did work at Weave.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Quite a few. I was there with Bryson.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Bryson Hunter was there. Christian Brown was there.
Yep.
Dallas Brown was there.
Okay. So you had the whole squad together.
Yeah, they were all doing sales, and I was on.
Okay.
We were kind of like a whole separate. We were a separate wing of the building, so I didn't really get to talk to them a whole lot.
Gotcha.
But, so we were kind of building that product back up, and then it hit. I think it was like December 2016, early December 2016. All of a sudden I come in and like nobody's there. The office is really empty. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just like going about my work and trying to figure out what's going on. And then I walk over to the sales side, and I see like Bryson and Dallas and Christian, all those guys walk out like with their heads down low, and it's like really somber. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, they just laid us all off.
Wow.
I was like, they just laid you off? And I was like, oh, shoot. Like, am I laid off? Did something happen?
Yeah.
So I kept working, and eventually I found Jared Rodman. He was the CEO. He's one of the co-founders. And I was like, do I have a job? Like, what's going on? He's like, did nobody tell you? I was like, oh, no. So I walk in with him and the HR lady, and they're like, so unfortunately, we have to make, I think they cut like 40% of the company or something.
Wow.
They were trying to get funding, expecting funding, ended up not getting it. So they had to make some pretty big cuts.
Yeah.
Just super unfortunate. It's always hard to go through that.
Totally.
And so in that meeting, they're talking about like severance and everything I'm going to get. But then Jared's like, well, I actually, if you're interested, I would really like to see the recall solutions or the original thing, like actually do something and be successful. And so he's like, if you and like Corey want to take it on, we'd be glad to like sell it to you guys to make it official, and see what you can do with it. So
you lost your job, but he opened another door for you.
Yeah, there was a door there, and I was like, okay. So he sold it to us for $1 was the offer. We could have it for $1. We still have the cashier's check. It's literally just $1.
You didn't cash it, or they didn't, or you have like the receipt?
I think just the receipt. I don't know if we ever did anything with the dollar. I always said we should frame the dollar. I don't know if we still have it.
That's sweet.
So we bought the company, or that portion, for $1. And so I was on the way home. I was like, okay, I don't know if I want to do it. So I called Corey I called Corey, I think before my wife. Sorry, Ashley. And
well, girlfriend at the time, right?
No. So we got married while I was at Weave.
Okay. Wife, yeah.
So it was later that year. We had just been married, like a month maybe.
A month? Wow.
No, it'd been like 4 months.
Still, that's pretty new. It's like you lose your job.
Yeah, and so and this was like such a good job for her. Like I felt so great.
Secure.
It was secure, and things were going well, and then all of a sudden, boom, hit with that. And so I called Corey on the way home, and I was like, so did you hear? And he's like, yeah, what do you think? Are you interested in doing it with me? And I was like, okay, let's meet. So he came over to my house. We talked about, a partnership, what it would look like. We decided he would be the CEO. I would take the COO role because I was running the whole operation, and he had skills in more of the actual structure, legal, route. So we still have a picture. It's like just a piece of cardboard. We wrote down like 50-50 partners and all these things.
On a piece of cardboard?
On a piece of cardboard. We just like found it randomly in my house or something. We wrote it down on there. And we were like, oh, we're gonna make great money. We'll be back to what we were making.
You're gonna be rich.
We're gonna kill it. And then as we're like letting all of our customers know that it was no longer Weave and we had rebranded to CallForce, they all just started dropping like flies.
Oh, who was your competitor? Where were they going?
We didn't have any competitors.
So they just dropped because
they just didn't.
They didn't
because
trust
we weren't Weave anymore. I don't know.
Huh.
They were just like, and I think a lot of them had forgot Weave was doing it. Like it was just running in the background.
So it was on a reoccurring payment, and they're like, oh yeah, let's cancel.
So they're like, okay, we'll just cancel, or we just could never get a hold of them. And so they're dropping like flies. It was already losing money.
Right.
Now it's like worse.
Right.
And so we're trying to get all these customers back. Then we found out Weave hadn't billed them for like a month or so. So we were able to go back and do the billing from before.
And get those invoices paid.
And get all those invoices. So that gave us money.
Nice.
So then we brought a lot of the team I had came on with me and kept calling. And I think by the end we had like 10 offices we were calling for.
Did any of the friends go over with you, like Bryson or Dallas?
No, because they were all sales. So Bryson went and started, I think, some credit company.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I don't know. He went off with another Weave guy, and then everyone else went other tech jobs.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think Dallas went IT eventually, but So yeah, it was just a couple of girls that I had calling, like a girl from my mission, and I heard a couple of girls at my church that I had hired on, I think. And so we moved to this little spot. It was like probably the size of this room.
Yeah.
And we had like 6 people all in here on the phones at the same time. It was so loud. We took furniture from the lobby because we didn't have money for furniture. Remember, we got an email. It was like, hey, whoever took our furniture, put it back now. Or
you're like in a leasing off, like in a building?
Yeah, it was like a building.
And you're stealing the furniture from the lobby.
Yeah. Like, and the building was so old and decrepit. It was like
oh, really?
Old looking elementary school almost.
Was it in Provo?
It's in Orem, right by like the Sierra pool.
Oh, yeah.
We're just like behind that. Not Maverick. What's over there? Walgreens?
Yeah.
So it's just like a little office space back there.
Cool.
And it was like so bad. Like next to us was a construction guy. You'd just hear him swearing at his guys all day. Next to that was a massage therapist.
Oh.
And
any benefits there?
Oh, so his menu items or like what you could pick from. He called it, I think you might be able to still find the website, was like the sigh, the slurp, and the like something else. And that was supposed to be like, you're so relaxed you would slurp.
Ew.
But it was like, what kind of like, what kind of joint are they running out of here? The sigh and the slurp.
The moan?
I don't know. That probably was the next one. It was the worst building ever.
That sounds creepy.
But it's the only thing we could afford. So,
right.
And we ended up we didn't pay ourselves for like the first 6 months.
Wow.
So I literally only lived on the severance that we got.
Yeah.
And then luckily I got a decent tax return.
Nice.
So we weren't able to pay ourselves for, I think it was about 6 months. And we started paying ourselves $800 a month.
Okay. Well, still though, 6 months that's fast.
Yeah.
Most startups, they don't pay themselves for a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
Granted, it looks like it was only $800.
Yeah. We weren't ever able to, and we bootstrapped it. We never at any point took funding.
Good.
We just wanted to grow organically. And so, yeah, I think for that first year, maybe I made $24,000 a year.
Okay.
When I was finally able to like start paying ourselves.
So enough to pay the bills, but nothing extra, obviously. You were reinvesting everything back into the company.
Yeah. We were just trying to put it all back in. And I was 22 when we started CallForce. So we're just like figuring it out as we go.
That's the time to do it though. Take all that risk.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly what we thought. I was like, okay, if it doesn't work out,
you got the rest of your life ahead of you.
Yeah, we're fine. I'll just go get another job,
right,
doing sales, whatever it is. So we were just like, okay, let's do it. Let's figure it out. And that's exactly what we did. So there wasn't really a moment where I was like, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur necessarily. My dad always was, and I think it was in my blood. But once the opportunity was given to me, I was like, okay, we're doing it.
Go for it.
And yeah, those first couple of years really were just a slow grind. We never really had a sales team. We ended up growing super organically. We started doing a lot of podcasts.
Really?
Yeah, it's funny. In dental, there's like dental influencers.
Interesting.
So you get on their podcasts, and so their whole audience is a bunch of dentists. Then they start signing up for us, and we just kept growing like that. We met a couple of really key people that made some great connections. Like it was all networking. And
like most things, honestly.
Yeah.
So was there a moment during that startup and that build up where it was like a specific moment that really just like launched you guys into the next level?
I think we had one connection. It was a guy, his name is Elijah Desmond. He does a dental cruise. As dentists have to get a certain amount of like educational hours every year.
So they go on a cruise.
So they go on a cruise to learn, and it's like,
that's badass.
You can learn, more about dentistry.
We have that for real estate too. I should just do a real estate cruise.
Yeah, so he'll rent out a huge portion of the cruise, and then they just go out there, have speakers go out, and then
that's brilliant.
We went to like Bahamas. They did one in Jamaica.
It's a complete write-off.
Yeah, so he does that. It's called like Smiles at Sea or something.
Nice.
So he was a big connection for us.
Yeah,
he's just a really like gregarious, outgoing guy. And
how'd you meet him?
Email. I think that's what was our sales was. We just started emailing, cold call emailing random consultants and whoever we could. One guy wrote back, I tried this once before, didn't work, signed, who cares? We were like, what? Okay.
Sincerely,
yeah.
Who cares?
Because nobody in our industry was really doing it. There was a couple small ones, but we didn't really have competitors at the beginning.
Right.
We were the first that were really like pushing tech into the space.
Yeah.
And
what year was this?
So December 2016, we started.
Okay.
So by like end of 2017, 2018, we were like a lot more established going.
Gotcha.
And we brought another partner on. He was our CTO. His name was Connor. He was just incredible that we brought on. He was a big part. And really that's 100% of our success was bringing on people who had different talents.
And we're experts at what they did.
At it.
Right.
Really, like without the people we brought on, it never would have worked. We actually saw quite a few try to create competitors and fail miserably. So
I think you got to have the passion behind what you really want to build and see and create. But then also, I think the trickiest part where you guys got really lucky with is you found the right people in the right positions that were experts at what that position needed to be filled with. Yeah. So that's awesome.
And just young, growing, motivated people, because we were putting in 80 hours a week, just grinding it out. And we'd grown to maybe like 90 employees.
Wow.
And we were doing like so well, just projected to do great the next year. Then COVID hit.
Dang.
And it just wrecked us.
Really?
Oh yeah. So we went from about 90 employees to 8, including all of us.
8?
8.
Because you had to lay people off, or because what?
Because the American Dental Association decided that dental wasn't a essential service.
Oh yeah, essential. Yeah,
an essential business. So they shut dentistry down, and we weren't like a subscription model or anything. We were like,
that's crazy.
When we call and have schedule your appointments,
right?
You pay. So there was no risk for them. They used us, but then we had no one to call
because everyone's closed. So then you had to lay people off?
Yeah, so we had to furlough about 80 employees. We even furloughed my wife, who had taken over. Ashley came on early because she was so talented. I was like, you shouldn't teach. We need you to come manage, a team and, train. Right. And, eventually she took over all of our HR.
Nice.
So, we brought her over. We had to furlough her.
Wow.
And we found her a position that she could go, because we couldn't survive personally on that.
Right.
So even the leadership, we were down to 9 employees. So I was like back on the phones.
So counting leadership, there were 9 total employees.
Yeah.
Wow.
So like it was right back.
So you were back on the phones, but if everything's closed, what were you booking? What were you doing?
One of our services we had was an answering service for the dental practices.
Okay.
So kind of crazy. Literally all we were doing was, hey, this is, Ryan from so-and-so dental. How can I help you? The office is closed due to COVID.
Thanks for calling.
We'll reschedule you later.
We'll see you later. So it's just an answer, just basically to tell people, sorry, we're closed.
Yep. So I would wake up at like 5 a.m. We would start, and I would be on the phones for like 4 hours, and we would take shifts and just answer phone calls from these dental practices.
That's wild, man. So you went from starting really small to scaling to up to 90 employees and then back down to 8. What did that do to you? Like,
personally, like crushed me, because you go back down to that. I mean, I'm back down to ground zero. I'm back on the phones. Everything, we'd kind of put all of our eggs in one basket. Like CallForce had to succeed. There was no other option for me.
Right.
I dropped out of school for it. So I was at UVU for a couple of years, and I was like, okay, I can't do both of these. So I went full-time CallForce.
Right.
And there was no other option. It had to succeed. So we just went back to the grind to kind of wait out COVID, and it just kept dragging on. and on and on. So I was answering phone calls for like 5 or 6 months probably before we could start bringing people back onto the team. Because even a lot of the practices, I mean, a lot of ours were in places like California, which they didn't open up for like a year
while.
later.
Yeah.
Maybe even longer. So we were just kind of in the dark. We didn't know what was going to happen.
So March 2020, COVID hits. Everyone gets furloughed basically. And then at what point did things start to pick back up?
It's probably like maybe a year later. Well, it depends. 6 months, we started seeing offices open back up. But then you saw like a scramble because they had to furlough a lot of their staff too. So now all of a sudden they're in this panic. Like they don't have employees. So all of a sudden they're looking at CallForce like, hey, we can use you to schedule all of our, because they had to clear their schedules.
Right.
So we can use you to now fill up our schedules.
Wow.
And we don't have someone answering our phones. So
you
can
answer our phones now. So you like doubled down on everything.
Yep. So all of a sudden they're all coming to us. And so we just start exploding.
Wow.
Then all of a sudden we've kind of already been working with one. There's a lot of DSOs. They're just large dental organizations that, one that owns, for example, one owns like over 1,000 practices.
Wow.
They start coming to us to build a team for them. And the next 6 months, I would just describe as nightmare growth.
Almost too much.
It was insane. We go from about 9 employees to about 6 months to a year, we were 250 employees.
Holy shit.
So
that's crazy.
It was really the next year. So we were onboarding, 30 employees at a time, trying to get them going and trying to keep your culture intact.
Right. While you're running 1,000,000 miles an hour, trying to hire, trying to scale.
Yeah. And I mean, we were trying to keep the finances all in order. We're trying to keep culture because we had a really good culture.
Yeah.
We were really trying to maintain that.
You guys have a good Glassdoor account. I stalked that. And really good Google reviews too.
Yeah. 2019, we won Salt Lake Tribune's top workplace.
Love it.
So people loved working for us. We were a really fun place to work, but trying to maintain that while you're bringing on 50 new people who
That's crazy.
Don't know what you're about and you're trying to do that. It was like nightmare growth.
How did you do it? Did you have to hire more leadership to actually come back or?
We brought all the leadership back that we could. It was a lot of the callers and things that we lost. And generally, we worked with some of the dental schools to bring some of their students. They could get credit hours or experience that really helped them in dentistry,
right?
Getting jobs. And then we were just doing everything we could to find new people, bring people back who could.
Right.
And we were at a space over by JCW's in Provo.
Yeah.
By the BYU Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And you used to work
right around the corner.
Yeah, right around the corner.
Selling credit repair.
So we just kept growing in that space and eventually we were too big for it. So during COVID, we were okay, we need to figure out somewhere new.
Right.
And Weave had just moved out of their building. That new building they have now,
right.
They just built it and moved out of their old space.
At the point, right, of the mountain?
Yeah. So we took their old space. So we moved into
full
it.
circle.
It's just this big
That's
circle all around.
That's insane, dude.
So we ended up taking the whole second floor. It's right by that kiln building. And we just it was just crazy.
You went from buying this dying, losing money department in Weave for $1 to bringing it back and moving in 250 of your own employees.
Yeah. And
That's
it was
sick.
It was a roller coaster. I mean, a roller coaster of emotions because we didn't know if we were going to survive through COVID. And it's really hard to keep motivated when there's so much fear.
World's falling apart.
I mean, just even during that whole time, how much fear there was about COVID. And let alone we're seeing all these small businesses shut down. We survived on PPP loans. We were just in such crazy times. It is incredibly mentally straining on you.
Right.
But we were able to finally kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel and just exploded, but there's a lot of wear and tear and a lot of like scarring that comes from that.
Right.
You have a lot of internal, like you don't know what all goes on behind the scenes, and you know, you're balancing partnerships with different people who have different expectations, different, you know,
right,
visions, and it gets tough to handle in that kind of growth.
And all at the same time, you're working on your marriage. You just got married. You have one kid at that time.
Yeah. Well,
right.
Yeah. So Sonny was born 2020 September. Sorry, Ashley. 2020.
Write it down.
Not good with dates.
So how did that affect your home life or your relationship?
You know, it's funny. Like something that I'm just kind of starting to realize a lot more now, since, you know, I exited CallForce since, or Reach now. We're
Reach.
We brought Ashley on, and she's a powerhouse. Like she is so talented and so good with people, so friendly.
Yep.
She was like, a lot of our success is due to Ashley's talent and ability to create that culture that we wanted.
Yeah, I can see that. She's like a light every time she walks into a room.
It's funny. A lot of people say that.
Yeah, dude.
They say that about her, that she is a light.
My mom loves her, by the way.
Yeah. We love Sonia. She said she's going to make me some of those
alfajores, the cookies.
Yeah. Oh, they're so good. So we're both working, and it was just like, and this is before Sonny was born. All we would think about, all we would do, I mean, we're both working like 80 hours. All we'd think about or talk about was work.
Wow, yeah.
And that becomes so draining. Like you don't have a break from it.
Your life is work.
Yeah. And I remember, and we're both kind of, you know, you talk about masculine, feminine energy. We're both on our masculine.
Yeah. Cause you're running a business.
Yeah. And all of our eggs again are in this basket. Like this is our ticket. I'm not going to school to be a lawyer.
No.
Everything's on this.
Right.
So, I remember one time I was like, okay, we're setting a new rule. Mm-hmm. We do not talk about work at home after 5 p.m. No more work talk.
Non-negotiable.
We're just not going to do it anymore, because it was just like, she was on HR, so she'd be dealing with all the HR issues. I would hear about it. And
she's venting to you. You're venting to her.
Exactly. And I tried. It ended up being super detrimental to me, because I would just bottle my stuff up because I didn't want her to feel negative about the business, because I felt responsible for her happiness because I dragged her into this. And so I would just bottle my stuff up, even though like inside I was full panicked. I was, you know, you go through so many emotions.
You didn't want to show that though, because she's already dealing with her own stress and her own anxiety. And as the man of the house, you're supposed to offer security and safety, right? In the household and in your relationship. And
but I didn't want to show that. You know, I didn't.
Which also isn't good.
Which is terrible. And I've learned that now, and I'm so grateful that I have. Like, I was just like, okay, I'm just going to, it's kind of that stoic mask you put on to, you know, be the supporter of it. But I remember after we set that rule, we sat there. I remember one time, and we talked about this just last night. We sat down in bed and we were just like, what do we talk about? We literally didn't know what to talk about,
because it just consumed your life so much.
We're with each other 24/7. We're at work. We're at home together. I don't have questions about what's going on in her day. I was there.
Right. You saw it all.
And we didn't know what to talk about. And that was like a weird turning point for us. We're like, okay, like we've got to figure out.
So what'd you do?
How we kind of kept that. And eventually we had, you know, Sonny. And so she went part-time, and we just wouldn't talk about work at home. And slowly we were able to start getting, you know, a lot more of our personal relationship back. But it had a big effect on our marriage. Like it's something you didn't really expect to have to go through. And a lot of people would come up to us and be like, wow, you guys work together. How do you do that? Like that's hard. And she's my best friend, and I partner in everything. I will forever work with my wife, because I'd be stupid not to. But it definitely had its challenges.
You have to pay a couple prices to do that too.
Yeah.
You gotta be able to navigate that.
Yeah, and it was tough. There's a lot of things that would carry home. If we had a disagreement at work, it would carry home, or a disagreement at home, it would carry to work.
Right.
So, that's a side of working with your wife that you don't really, nobody prepares you for that.
No.
Not many people actually do it. So we were just having to navigate it ourselves.
That's tough.
But
how are things now that I know you're still on the board, but you've stepped away from Reach, and she's obviously doing her own thing at a different HR company?
Yeah. So she was able to get her dream job after we both left. What was that, last May, at the same time? And it was a roller coaster. She got her dream job. She loved it.
Right.
Sonny was now 1, and our second Banks, he was born in December.
Nice.
So 6 months later.
Yeah.
And no, she stayed on a little bit longer. She didn't leave till later. Oh, I'm going to mess up all those timelines. I know. Sorry, Ashley. But after we left, she had that job, and she loves it. She kills it. She learned and done so much. And for me, I exited at a time I wasn't planning on it, but the opportunity came up, and it was time for, some other talent to come in and for some other things to happen so that we could grow and, in the end, hit our goal. And it just wasn't the right place, right fit anymore. Like eventually you grow out of it.
You outgrew it.
And to be quite frank, to get to the next level, it needed someone else.
So you did what was best for the company, even though it meant you had to step down a little.
Yeah. Because I built the systems. You get it into the way that it works, but you need a new set of eyes on it.
Right.
And, after 5 years of all those roller coasters, it becomes like you've got a lot of baggage with that too.
Right.
So all around, I knew it was going to be the best choice. So I stepped out, and it's been one of the best things that I've done.
Yeah.
It's been pretty amazing. And I'm grateful for you because you introduced me to We Are the They right at that time.
That was right at that time when you had stepped down?
Yeah. Because I went, stepped out in May, and I think I joined in like September.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking at some of the different options that I wanted to go pursue. Like, do I want to go work for another company, startup? I love startups.
You're so qualified now, obviously. You've got this track record.
And you think that, but then the imposter syndrome sneaks in. There's a lot of things that sneak in. But I was addicted to the hustle and the bustle and the chaos of a startup. I loved it.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I love the problem solving. I love building out systems and building relationships and doing all of that.
Yeah.
So there was this, and then, do I want to start my own thing? And I was home with the kids all the time, and eventually it got like, you don't have a purpose anymore.
Right.
And I think that's something you don't really expect is when I stepped out, my purpose
kind of fizzled, also stepped down. Yeah, because CallForce, so much of it consumed your life. So naturally, it was a huge part of your identity.
Yeah. I mean, it was a fifth of my life.
Right. So when that's gone, it's like, well, who am I?
Yeah.
What am I doing?
And that was everything Ashley and I had done. Like literally our whole marriage was starting and running CallForce or Reach now. And so when I stepped out, I realized I had built my whole identity around it. Mm-hmm. I had, a lot of my value was in it. That was like, it had become who I was. So now all of a sudden I step out of it, and it's like, oh.
And it's hard I think a lot of people go through that when they go through big changes in their life, whether it's a job or relationship, whatever. You get so caught up in that, and that becomes your identity. And then you lose that, and you almost lose yourself. So it's like, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to do? And one thing that for me, I think that's helped me in my business, because things can change. Things, something could always go wrong, and or life could just happen. But I've really tried to disassociate what I do and who I am. Right, who I am doesn't change, right, or tether at all. That's like, these are my morals. These are my standards. This is what I stand for. But I sell real estate, mm-hmm. right? But that's not who I am. That's just what I do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I wish at 22 someone had like sat me down and been like, hey, you got to separate these. But yeah, by the time I exited, it was like, what do I do now? What do I want to do? I don't want to be in dental. I don't want to make dentists more money.
Sure.
That sounded like not appealing to me at all. And I don't ever want to do call centers again, because that's, during nightmare growth, you don't ever want to do that again.
Right.
But it was like amazing. I learned so much during it, but now it was like, I'm home with the kids and who am I? What am I going to do? And I think I'm still on that discovery too, on exactly what my purpose is.
Right.
And, luckily I was able to build a ton of good relationships there that kind of gave me, the next stepping stones to start my next, the next company that I'm just launching. But it's been like quite a roller coaster to figure out exactly, who I am and what I'm going to do next.
So, and you said you joined We Are the They in September, right? So it's been a good amount of time now, and you've kind of gotten a feel for the group. And so how has that impacted your life and helped you in this rediscovery phase of your life?
Yeah, it was funny because like all my network and everything I'd done was all inside of CallForce. When I was out of it, I was like, I don't have, that same group that I'm with all the time. And so when I had stepped out, I was like, I had sold some equity. I finally had the financial stability that I wanted, that was my purpose before, is money. I just wanted the security that I never really had. And once I had that, it was like, I wasn't any happier.
Right.
And that was, they always say that, but actually experiencing it's a whole different thing.
Totally.
So I'm just like golfing every day, obsessed with golf. And I was listening to some podcasts. I listened to some of Jimmy's podcasts because I was like, what's going on in like Utah real estate?
Yeah.
Like, what do I do with money? I don't know. Never had it.
Right. Where should I put it?
Yeah. So I start listening to that, and then I get really curious, and then I see you post about it. So I was like, okay, I'm curious what this is. Like, I didn't really know anything about Jimmy before or anything about the group really,
right,
until you called me and you're like, changed my life. It's amazing. And so I called up Jimmy. I ended up applying, and I was skeptical for the first bit because
we all were.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what this is gonna be. I don't really know who Jimmy is, what he's gonna be like, and even any of the guys in this group. And at the first, like, nothing was really happening, and then we had our first like mastermind week.
Yeah,
the Ludus. We went to Heber.
Boom.
Mind blown. It was like your third eye opening up, almost. Like
life changing.
We started doing breath work, dude. You wouldn't have caught me dead doing breath work before.
Same.
Now I'm like a hippie about it. I love it. Meditation, breath work, really focusing on who I am, what I want to be, and a group of other guys who are wanting to like be the best fathers and the best versions of themselves.
I think that's the best part. Kind of like you said, like when things changed for you in high school is when you started hanging out with people who were doing other things, right? I think the interesting or the special thing about this group is everyone is just on this frequency of like, I want to be better. I want to be the best man I can be. I want to be in integrity. I want to show up for myself. I want to love myself. I want to just, make the world a better place. And like when you surround yourself with everyone's energy, then it's just like it becomes infectious, and it just like inspires you,
Yeah. And then that's exactly what it's been. It's kind of like, high school, you've, the football team you get really close with because you're all motivated to do the same type of things. You're all, now you have it as an adult, and men don't really have that.
And they need it. They desperately need it.
Yeah.
I thought for a while myself that a lot of the stuff I was going through, feeling alone, feeling like, the things that I was struggling with, it was all like, oh, I'm probably like that one off that, is going through stuff like this. Then you get in a room with these 50 guys and you're like, whoa, we're all messed up.
Yeah.
But none of us talk about it.
Yeah. Everyone puts on that kind of stoic mask because they don't want to look weak or vulnerable and
I think being vulnerable is one of the most masculine things you could do.
Yeah.
And it's been, I think it doesn't come naturally to us, right?
No, not at all. Like the fact that I'm even talking about some of this stuff is completely new to me.
Yeah.
Like I'm very much so like I don't talk about it. I'll just, if I'm going through an issue, just man up, just deal with it. Compartmentalize your issues and just keep going. I mean, that just ends up doing more damage.
Well, then it builds and builds and builds and then blows up. Before you know it, you've got all these issues, right?
Yeah. So not only has it changed like who I want to be, but it's like Ashley and I's marriage has never been better.
I love that.
It is. We just call it like where's Joe? Call each other. Our relationship is Cashly, and it's Cashly 2.0 because it's just evolved 100%. And we're so glad that we were, like you really called us and said, join it.
Yeah.
And some of the guys I've met in the group are amazing. You're right. It's so contagious. Mm-hmm. So just since doing that, like we've really progressed, we've completely changed our lives. I meditate now every day. I'm reading. I haven't read a book since elementary school.
Bro, same. And I'm reading too. It's kind of weird, but it's good.
Yeah. And it's just like, I wish I had that time back. I wish I had someone when I was younger. When I was 22 starting CallForce.
Yeah. Like, hey. Well, now it's your turn to give the gift back, right?
Yeah.
So if that now you have this opportunity to give back to someone who is going to come into your life. You don't know who or where, from what avenue. Yeah. You're going to see yourself in them and you'll be like, I know how to help you.
Yeah.
Right? I know what you need.
And you never know when that opportunity is going to come. Like I was laid off from Weave and I was given an opportunity. You just take it. Mm-hmm. You got to see where the God or the universe is going to pull you to and just, go with it, see where it takes you. It's been, quite a tough, but incredible ride.
I love it. So now you've got this awakening. What's next for you?
That's still to be determined. So I've started a new company, at Reach. We had started doing some stuff overseas. And we were working with, a lot of our roles were entry level. We were having a really hard time hiring at 15, 16 an hour. Mm-hmm. And it was like impossible. So we started outsourcing a lot of our stuff to places like Brazil and Argentina and working through the BYU has their Pathways program through BYU Idaho is worldwide.
Nice.
So it's big in Brazil and Argentina. So we started going through there and finding, some really great talent that we brought onto our team, and they were like incredible. I would be getting Slacks and emails like every other day of like, oh, Mr. Henson, what you said today was so inspiring to me. We're so grateful for you in the town hall today and what you said. And how can I be a good employee here or like,
see, you're already doing
make a mark, and
you're doing it halfway across the world.
And so I was so impressed by them. I was like, I wish we had that when we were smaller. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot cheaper than hiring here in the United States.
Oh yeah.
So I just kind of fell in love with them, and I have a partner doing something similar. And so I decided to start it and start finding agents out in Brazil and Argentina for, other startups or entrepreneurs, small business owners who can, outsource a lot of these jobs, especially as remote work.
Right.
Expands. That was my last thing I did at Reach before I left was we pushed the company completely remote.
Gotcha.
So we got rid of that space that we have in Lehigh because
it's all work from home now.
Yeah. So we all work from home, and then a lot of it's moved overseas.
Nice.
Because they're fantastic. And we never realized it, and we never thought it was like possible for us.
Right.
So I'd love to give that opportunities to other companies so that they can, be more profitable, but then not sacrifice incredible talent. And it's fantastic money for them over there.
Right. They win. You hire someone at low risk, and it can help take your business to the next level.
Yeah. And it's far more than the average salary down there. So I've really loved working with them and helping them, explore the opportunities of remote work, because it's pretty new down there. So if they have an opportunity to get a job in the United States, a lot of them speak English, but they get to practice their English. Some have almost no accents.
Nice.
And it's similar time zones. So it's been like super rewarding being able to help them and almost mentor some of these guys to, expand into their next skill set. So
Right.
I definitely know I want to give back. And I imagine 22-year-old Kasey, I wish someone could have come and mentored me.
Right.
And I want to somehow help give back to, little me's out there or anyone who's looking for help, really.
What's the best advice you'd give someone now that you've gone through that entire full circle of starting a business, losing everything, starting it back up? What advice would you give someone that wants to start a business?
I think there's so much. It's hard to wrap up like 6 years into like the key things you want to take away from it. But really, it's like surround yourself with people who are highly talented. And no, I had it described to me not long ago as like us, if you play baseball. I always played baseball growing up. So I think it rang true to me there. Just because you have a weakness doesn't mean that you are, inadequate for the job. It just means that you have a sweet spot where you are really talented. And if you hit a baseball off the end of the bat, it's going 20 feet. If you hit it off the inside of the bat, it's going 20 feet. You hit in your sweet spot, that's when you're sending it. So if you get enough of these sweet spots to cover up a lot of those bats, Ashley's really talented at the people, the culture. I'm more the operational, strategy type. So we're able to expand that sweet spot. So the more people you surround yourself with, the more chance you have at success.
Totally.
And so obviously with a lot of other, hard work and other things, but I think most of all is just building up a super solid team that you can all rely on.
So it sounds like place yourself in where you succeed the most and you're the best at, and then where you fall short, place someone else where that's their sweet spot.
Yeah. It's get it, want it, and like own it.
Cool.
So you gotta get what it is. You gotta want it, and take responsibility for it, and know exactly where you're talented at.
Yeah.
And obviously you can work on the other things, but kind of building your team around that.
Totally. I love that. Well, I appreciate you being here, man. I just want to let you know that I love that, like, everything you're doing. I think you're super inspirational. I love that you're finally stepping out of your comfort zone a little and telling your story, because I think people can really, really grow from it and are going to be inspired by it. So thank you for being here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also you, Adrian, you similar, like in high school, we ran in the same crowds, and seeing you go off and just killing it in real estate. Like, I remember when I first saw it, I was like, oh, like Adrian's killing it. Like he's doing big things. So like right back at you, man. Like I've seen you take off in real estate. You just won something recently with the Perry Group, right? Or just top 500
in
realtors.
Salt Lake Board Realtors. Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah. It's definitely, I don't take that for granted.
Yeah.
It's because everyone around me trusts me. So it's a big team effort,
Yeah. You're just a very likable person and easy to trust. So like you were our realtor, I know from experience. So just kudos to you, man. You've come up, and
thanks, brother.
I see you smashing it in kind of your end of the world. So
yeah.
It's really cool to see. There's a lot I got to learn from you about real estate.
Well, we're here together in this crazy world, so we'll help each other out. So last thing, where can people find you if they want to reach out to you about your new business?
Hiretalent.com. We just launched the website.
Okay.
So Talent is the company, TLNT. You can reach out there, or Kasey at hiretalent.com. You can email me if you're interested in, getting a virtual assistant or data entry, or kind of anything you need. Some like junior web developers we're able to find.
Cool.
Let us know what you need, and we can start a search and see what. You don't pay for it until you hire them, so we'll find them, interview them, and if you like them, hire them, then great, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Cool. Or on Instagram At Chief Henson.
Yeah, at Chief Henson. It's been that since high school.
I know. That's what I'm calling it. Mine's changed a lot, but
yeah. I tried to get Kasey Henson, but it's taken by a guy. So
some other guy in some random country named
he never
Kasey Henson.
DM'd me back. I was like, come
bastard.
on, I'll pay you for it.
Yeah.
What do you want? But yeah, he never messaged me back. So
cool, brother. Thanks for being here.
Well,
love you, man.
Love you, brother.
Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to the Mindset with Mako podcast, sponsored by Mako Real Estate, LLC. Do you know a business owner or influencer with an amazing story who needs to be on the show? DM Adrian on Instagram at AdrianMako_Utah Realtor, and let's get them on. Until next episode, remember, if you want to change your life, you must first change your mindset.